Also like to acknowledge the Wadandi people as the traditional custodians of the land and pay my respects to the elders past, present and emerging. Today, I want to talk a little bit about sustainability to us in the wine industry. For us, it's a commitment to improving the environment, social and economic aspects of business and its impacts on the community around it. It's a commitment to do better and to do good. And it's a journey of continuous improvement at the heart of it. So the global wine markets are increasingly demanding traceability, certifications, evidence of sustainability. Retailers are setting their own sustainability goals and are wanting to partner with like-minded suppliers. And a growing number of consumers are making purchase decisions based on supporting sustainable-minded growers and winemakers. Market access is likely to become limited for suppliers that can't meet these sustainability standards. So just recapping, for many of you in the room, you know these figures aren't new, but just recapping on the size of Margaret River region in the global marketplace. So in Margaret River, we produce 2% of Australia's wine, and Australia is ranked 13th globally in the production of wine value. So Australia produces around 2% of the global wine market. Therefore, we can't really afford to be left behind by not having sustainability focus and not having certifications and practices that the buyers and many consumers are now looking for and preferencing, if not demanding. To the contrary, though, we have a natural advantage here, and we need to protect it and we need to leverage it. We have the opportunity to get on the front foot and stay one step ahead of the increased demand from consumers and retailers as they seek more sustainable options. Fortunately, the innate suitability of the Margaret River land and climate to producing or to fine wine viticulture and the lack of pest and disease here, pressures here, enable our vignerons to grow outstanding grapes while working with the environment holistically. The high proportion of artisan family-owned wineries alongside a lifestyle here that we all enjoy, recreating in nature, makes this light touch of viticulture approach appealing and a possibility. So organic and biodynamic practices are increasingly well adopted also in vineyards and wineries. A growing number of vineyards are embracing the reduced chemical use and a more regulated organic and biodynamic practices to maximise their vine health, but also minimise the harm to the surrounding ecology and returning good inputs into the land, such as compost. At present, 720 hectares or 12.3% of the region vineyards are certified organic or biodynamic, with quite a few more in conversion. But as I said at the beginning, sustainability certification is more than this. Sustainability is a broader church and it's inclusive of all organic, biodynamic, regenerative or other farming practices. Sustainability aims for continuous improvement across the total business, both environmentally, socially and economic. On the contrary, when we're looking at biodynamics and organics, you're looking at just the vineyards or just the winery, not your total business. So at Margaret River Wine Association, our sustainability objectives are to create and nurture a collaborative wine community focused on 4 things. We're securing the long-term success and resilience of the wine industry by ensuring a healthy and biodiverse natural environment. We're improving sustainability across all areas of the local wine sector, from viticulture, winemaking, but also production, sales, marketing, and wine tourism. We also aim to fulfill our custodian responsibilities to the environment and leave a legacy for the future and provide integrity to substantiate our clean, green reputation, underpinning the social and economic well-being of the region and avoiding the greenwashing. So in 2019, we formed a sustainability subcommittee and commenced a development of a sustainability action plan. It became evident quite quickly that there was a lack of data available for the region and also for individual businesses. So to quote Peter Drucker, we knew that if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. Hence, a performance benchmarking for the region needed to be the key priority. So as a group, we reviewed the Sustainable Wine Growing Australia program And we felt that the SWA program, as it's called, would provide the wineries and the vineyards the tools to measure, assess, benchmark, plan, document, take action, review, and assess. So as the video said, Sustainable Wine Growing Australia is our national program to demonstrate through sustainable action plans for continuous improvement. It's a voluntary program and it takes a holistic approach to managing, supporting and promoting sustainability, and it's modelled on global best practice and aligned to the United Nations Sustainability Development Goals, with a progress towards these monitored annually. There's a membership tier and then there's a certification tier. The priority segments of the program include land and soil, water, people, your social license, your business, your economic side, biodiversity, energy, waste, pest and disease. This is the type of report as a region that we can get to see where we are performing, and P&D, you can see there is the area that we're performing the area for most improvement, which is not surprising. P&D is pest and disease, and I think we're a little complacent here, believing that our natural buffer distance from the East Coast will protect us. So our biosecurity is probably the area of most action required. So we're increasing the number of Margaret River members within this platform, and it enables us to truly demonstrate our sustainability credentials as a region, both nationally and internationally. It's a powerful marketing tool for our region and for our members. So we have an ambitious goal. The Margaret River Wine Association is progressing towards having 100% of our members compliant with the National Sustainable Wine Growing Australia program and having 50% of them certified by December 2025. So over the last 18 months, we've made some significant progress. In March, our vineyard membership increased 156% to 49 members. This represents 37% of the region's hectares are now SWA members. 16 of these vineyards are certified. So this covers 1,000 hectares, nearly 20% of the region. And this has increased by 42%. Winery memberships increased by 70% to 15 members, and 6 are certified. So last year, 11,000 tonnes of grapes were crushed at these certified wineries. So this is about a third of the region's crush, and that's an increase on 48%. So the key actions of our journey have been securing funding through support by both local government, thanks to the Shire, the city, and also thanks Nola for our Smart Farm Small Grant, which has helped us to contract a sustainable engagement officer who's been supporting the region with workshops, one-on-one coaching with members. We have Kick the Dirt forums on particular topics, sustainability sundowners where we report, we present case studies, and we celebrate our success. We have quarterly sustainability newsletters and marketing materials to support this. So lastly, I'd like to finish with one of the key benefits of being a sustainable certified, to have key benefits of having sustainability certification. If you have it for both your winery and your vineyard, you can use the Sustainability Trust Mark. So our national industry bodies are now working towards building a better recognition of this trust mark and the sustainability credentials that it demonstrates. Xanadu Wines in Margaret River was one of the first wineries in Australia to use this trust mark on their packaging. So we are working collectively with our members and partners across our local and national industry, and we're confident together that we can achieve recognition of Margaret River of one of the leading wine regions in sustainability in Australia. We want to make Margaret River Wine Community a global leader in social, economic and environmental best practice to protect our distinct land, our robust vines and the quality wines that we're famous for globally. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda. I'll now call on Keith Warwick, Chair of the Southwest Brewers Alliance and General Manager of the Eagle Bay Brewery, to provide insights into the benefits of collaboration. Thank you.
Been a lot of mention through the morning of the Brewers Alliance, so I hope I do the storytelling justice. I guess to that point, it has caught the attention of community, it's caught the attention of government and agencies, this coming together. And what it really stands for is a network of brewers that are seeking to collaborate. And you know, we were under a year old, so very much in its infancy. But what brought us together was an expressed will to collaborate. So amongst the 11 members and their various different, so those brand marks would be familiar to you. There's all manner of different entities and ambitions amongst them, but the willingness to collaborate was common to all. And thanks to John Berry, who can't be here today, and DPIRB, Ian Dixon presented on clustering to a mixed group of primary industry and amongst them a number of brewers. And out of that, there was an appetite to meet again and revisit the model and extend those discussions somewhat further. But I have to say, most of what Ian Dixon had to say went completely over my head. It involved accountancy firms and legal firms and all the rest. And I think we're a pretty casual bunch, as this outfit describes, and we thought that we could probably come together and rationalize some common goals and apply the KISS principle in terms of not getting too complex too early on in the piece, and just seek to get some runs on the board. So the subsequent meeting was all about identifying some common goals and challenges, and I guess this slide kind of talks to the areas that we talked about. In the context of our common values, I suppose our social piece, sustainability was talked about by every member that contributed, but also presenting ourselves as an equal opportunity employer. The perception, I guess, of brewing is that it's very male dominated. A common appreciation of the region's natural assets and the part we have to play in talking to that and sustaining that, but also trust, trust being very common to us all. And I guess that plays out a little in a slide a little bit later on. We're commonly sharing technical skills. It's not uncommon to find a brewer from another business in our brew shed or vice versa. Commonly sharing ingredients and talking about techniques in the interest of continuous improvement. Managing waste was a topic that came to the fore, and we'd love to do more. We'd love to partner with local government service providers to ensure that our efforts to reduce landfill actually come to play, that those materials that do have a circular economy or a value downstream, in fact, find their way there. A desire to have a stronger voice, or a united voice at least, and I guess that for us played back in a recent Independent Breweries Association, so our national peak body member survey, and an opportunity for us as a collective to talk to what we saw as priorities and actually inform strategic direction for the industry nationally, and on the back of that, a state plan coming being developed, sorry, I should say, by John Berry. And there was, because of our size, I suppose, a very nimble approach to sharing operational tactics. So during the sort of COVID, the second wave of COVID that impacted WA, tactics to manage capacity and strategies to manage our businesses throughout that. We do share equipment, and there is an opportunity potentially as a collective, as a collaborating group, to fund some equipment that will help drive quality assurance and quality checking, perhaps a laboratory facility or a CAM seal checker, very expensive pieces of equipment which collectively we might benefit from. And the ongoing and evolving rationale for a training hub. So we heard earlier Tafe talking about the skills that they're trying to develop. In brewing, I'm hoping to see onto that list very shortly. And in fact, we're doing some good work with IBA in terms of securing a curriculum to help with the skills gap, skills shortage here in WA and in the Southwest in particular. And on the networks piece, actually ensuring that we avoid duplication. There's West Australian Brewers Association, there's an Independent Brewers Association as a peak body. We don't intend or pretend to achieve what they're trying to achieve. I mean, our roles kind of limited to the Southwest. Co-opetition, I'm assured it is a word, so I'm going to run with it, but basically working together to help navigate logistics, wholesalers, chill chain. Keeping beer cold is a critical factor in its quality. Collaborating on export ideas. I mean, amongst the 11, there are some that export already, but others that have expressed an appetite to do so. And export is a massive opportunity, as you'll see on a later slide. Actually, from the delegation of buyers that came through the Southwest, one thing that did get played back to me in a subsequent follow-up conversation was we present very strong branding. The quality and consistency of our products is certainly held in high regard, but also the ability for us to play on a natural, clean and sustainable message in reaching into those export markets. And potential for us to have a self-funded model. So again, if you see the logo on a tap point at a pub, bar, restaurant, buy it, support us, because actually it's fundraising internally within the organisation. And on the expansion piece, we, I guess, have had approaches already from brewers outside of the Capes region. We'd like to get some runs on the board first, and the potential is there for us to expand the network into what is an emerging industry. I believe there's 20 breweries in development in Western Australia currently, and amongst those a good number in the Southwest. This is what the members said they wanted in that workshop. A number of those statements sort of ring true to, I guess, the convalescence of an idea in terms of where we actually can collaborate. So I won't dwell on that. But in terms of how we take shape, so we arrived at a vision, which is quite hard work in its own right. And as I said, the scope was really to work in the Capes region initially, and then the potential is there for a hub and spoke model. As I say, we've had approaches from breweries in Bunbury, Manjimup, Pemberton, and all the way down to Esperance, of course. But the most important part of this slide is the 4 activity streams that we arrived at, and I guess they speak to those key elements that sort of came out of what our members said they wanted to work on: environment, sustainability, and community. So actually being able to use our product as a force for good. Education and employment, no question of it. We're all struggling to get enough staff, to get skilled staff, so playing our part in that space. The beer and tourism connection, we're all already working with and leveraging on Australia Southwest and MRBTA's initiatives around itinerary planning and so on. A number of us working on bookable product. As you know, as Malcolm said, that's a key part to being able to sell in export markets. And export and logistics, of course, thanks largely to government agency, Austrade and TradeStart in particular, helping us navigate that space. So this is how we got started. Some seed funding that came through Development Commission and through DPIRD. That was matched by members' money, so it demonstrated a commitment on our part. And as I say, there are fundraising opportunities through product that will serve us into the future. So this is the big slide, and I'm getting the hurry up, so better focus on it. To talk about trust, we conducted just over the last 2 weeks, conducted a survey of the 11 members. We got 11 responses. I didn't get to see the individual responses, but this is the aggregated, the collated data from that. And it's a pretty powerful message about what 11 brewers in a region contribute. So 375 full-time equivalent jobs. There's 3 jobs in tourism for every 1 job in production, logistics, warehousing, marketing, admin, and so on. And $43 million generated through hospitality and tourism operations. So combined 72 million, almost doubled growth over the 2-year period. So 2-fold increase over the 2-year period that the survey accounted for. To Charles's earlier point, spend is significant. You can see that only 40% of our ingredient inputs are through WA. So the Alliance can have a role to play in encouraging West Australian industry, emerging industry like hop farms and grain farmers to supply more to WA and really help keep that money in the local economy. And to support some emerging value-add industries. So, for instance, a boutique maltings that's being, it's in production in Capel, which will help us buy quantities of malts sourced from paddocks in Western Australia, where the grain is amongst the best in the world. So, but also significant now, the 87% of our repairs, maintenance, running costs that are spent locally on local trades and keeping that money in the local economy. I won't talk to it. That's kind of what I've already talked about, I suppose. Anyway, I suppose what's next? Development of a strategic plan for us as the Alliance, maintaining Tash's input as an executive officer, and remaining informal as an organisation. We decided not to incorporate. It works well for us in this way. We can auspice and leverage off of the national and state associations, and to become self-sustaining from a funding perspective. So that's all on our radar. It's been a whirlwind 10 months and a lot of progress been made, and hopefully we get to kick some goals very soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith. You said there was 20 breweries in the pipeline. Is that in the southwest?
Of that 20, I think there's 5 in the southwest region.
Interesting. We're catching up the Sunshine Coast. They've got lots over there. Okay, I would now like to welcome Nathan Omaday, the CEO of the Leisure Collective, to talk about the importance of calibration and creativity that's impacted on their international success. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. Great to have the opportunity to be here today. I hope my perspective on this is somewhat relevant to the businesses here. The context of our business is very different, obviously, to Keith and Amanda, but I hope to be able to give you a quick look into the Leisure Collective and how we incorporate creativity and innovation, collaboration, and a sustainable approach to successfully compete on the global stage. There we go. So a very brief introduction to the Leisure Collective. We're a local company that owns and distributes global brands that were all started here in Dunsborough. The first one is Creatures of Leisure, which many of you may know, was started in 1987, so it's 35 years old this year, but its predecessor, Pipelines, goes back to 1972. So there's a 50-year history in the Creatures story, which we're very proud of and we're leveraging across the world. The second one there is Otis, which is a premium eyewear brand, started in 2000. So it's 22 years this year, just starting to grow up and really hit its straps. The third one, Layday, was started in 2014 by a former employee of ours who went out, had a bit of an entrepreneurial instinct, started his own brand with his wife, and we've recently bought it. We have some exciting plans to take that internationally this year. And the last one there is Ceto Shades, which has been in the works for a few years, but due to COVID, we launched late last year in Australia and in March this year in the USA. So that's now on the global stage as well. All of these brands are widely distributed in surf, lifestyle and fashion channels around the world. So brands like ours are born out of creativity and innovation. Our cornerstone brand, Creatures of Leisure, was founded by John Malloy, who some of you may know. And while John has retired from the business, his creative and innovative spirit is well and truly alive and well in the Leisure Collective today. The story of John, in my opinion, is one of the best kept secrets in business circles in the Southwest and possibly in Western Australia.
Look, you know, I was 19 years old. I don't think at 19 years old you have many expectations at all. It's an adventure and you just go.
It was really hands-on. We had to do everything ourselves. We didn't have a team to design product or a creative team or a finance team. It was us and a phone.
For the first 5 years, we lost money, big time. We just thought it was going to work. You know, we weren't thinking about testing or anything like that. I remember Barry just going, look, they've all broken. We had to really sit down and go, shit, you know, what's going to work around here?
And we developed a molding mechanism for that leash, and our leash breakages stopped overnight.
To get the right people for the right job, it's pretty unique to have like a small country camp. But you know, John stayed true to the roots, and this is where he wanted to live, and this is where he wanted to build a company. It's pretty cool that the local people run it now.
Just do your own thing and make it happen. Have a go. Be quite surprised what people are capable of.
John Malloy, an ordinary surfer who found what he loved, turned his passion into a business and gave it a go.
So this short clip is a trailer for a 26-minute movie, if you like, or story of John, which is available on YouTube. If you take one thing from me being up here today, make some time to search it up. It's a Creature of Leisure, the John Malloy story, and watch it. It's a really good story that we'd love everyone in the Southwest to know. So for us, creativity and innovation remains a priority and is critical for us to continue to evolve. John's words resonate and I'm sure are relevant more widely as well. So do your own thing. Make it happen. Have a go. Pretty simple stuff, but that's how he started his first business back in 1972, and we're still working on that 50 years later. I think this one's pretty cool. You'll be surprised what people are capable of. And we continue to throw people challenges, not that we don't think that they're capable, but they continue to show that they have got plenty of innovation in them. Obviously, not every idea is a winner. In fact, most aren't in our experience. What we try and do is foster a mindset of failing forward. So that is, it's okay to fail, just keep progressing. In our experience, that's how successful innovations are born. On to collaboration. And collaboration in a business like ours is a little different to collaboration in a community. So for us, we're lucky to have tons of opportunity to collaborate. The majority of our products are sold through our retail partners across the world. And that business to business relationship is essentially collaboration at work every day. It's no surprise that the stores that we work best with are the ones that do a great job of telling our brand stories and in turn sell the most product. On top of that, at a brand level, we're lucky to work with ambassadors who help market our brands globally. And these ones are all related to Otis, but I wanted to share them with you just as an idea of how we're collaborating globally with some of these people. So this one here is Imogen Caldwell. Some of you may know of Imogen or know her personally. She's a WA surfer raised at the Bluff in the Northwest, a model, and now mum to a young boy, Rambo. So Imogen has been a perfect collab partner for Otis. She's a great representation of WA, is as comfortable surfing 10-foot Nalu as she is on a catwalk in a major city. And she's really engaged with the brand, and we're about to launch our third collaboration, product collaboration with her. It's been really well received, and not just in Australia, but in the US as well. From WA surfer model to iconic American skater Jamie Thomas, known for his fearless style and relentless drive for perfection. I think Jamie's quote here is a great summary of collaboration. So my idea of a perfect collaboration is two forces coming together to create a delicate mixture of quality, style, purpose, and passion. I feel that we accomplished that with Overkill, which was the first collab that we launched with him. And I'm pleased to present the first of hopefully many collections to come. Jamie's an entrepreneur, really successful businessman in his own right, owns Zero Skateboards, which is a big brand in the US. He came to us looking for a collab, so it was really cool. This one's much closer to home. Many of you may recognize this dude. Jay Davies is a local surfer, highly respected in the global surf scene. Jay's collab with Otis October this year, and is a reflection of both him and Otis. So we're looking forward to that. And lastly, on collabs, this one is with a US brand, clothing brand called Outer Known. They're a sustainable apparel brand founded by Kelly Slater, who some of you may have heard of. This launches globally next week with imagery shot here in the Southwest region. So we're pretty excited to see that go out to the world. The Outer Known crew were actually drawn to Otis's roots and eco story. So we're excited to see that told on the global stage as well. So collaborations are really important for the Leisure Collective. They bring energy and excitement, both internally and at a retail level. And ultimately they help to expand our thinking and broaden our horizons. Finally, to sustainability. So living here, there is no shortage of inspiration that drives us to make our lives more sustainable, both personal and in business. I'm very aware that as a business, there's much more to be done. So spruiking our sustainability efforts makes me a little uncomfortable, a little nervous, might be putting my head above the parapet here. It's also not lost on me that consumerism generally is hardly good for the planet, and that's the business that we rely on. That said, there's a significant demand for the products we make. So our approach, particularly over the last 4 or 5 years, has been to bring sustainability to the forefront of our decision-making. Our mantra in this regard is do what we can, where we can, as fast as we can. And there's a couple of really practical, small examples that I just want to share with you once we made this commitment. So one of the products we sell is surfboard traction pads. Some of you would know what they are. You see them hung in surf stores everywhere. A few years ago, one of our product managers just said to us, look, this thing that is hung by a plastic hook, which is probably double the size of a credit card and 3 times as thick, just said, we've got to do what we can where we can as fast as we can. We can't do this anymore. So they very quickly changed that plastic hook to a compressed cardboard hanger. And in that 1 year alone, we saved 600 kilograms of plastic, which eventually all turns into microplastic and then ends up in the ocean and in fish and everything else. So the real commitment from our business has been to eliminate plastic where we can. It's an ongoing thing. We've done it with Otis, where we eliminated all the plastic that used to come in the packaging. The temples of every frame used to be wrapped in plastic to protect them in transit. And again, one of our product managers came up with a very simple, innovative technique to be able to wrap the frame using the cleaning cloth that was shipped with them. Again, eliminating hundreds of thousands of pieces of plastic very, very quickly. I'm very conscious of time here, so I'm hurrying, Paul. So we strongly believe that one of the most sustainable business initiatives is to make quality, durable products that last. In the consumer accessory space, which is often dominated by one or two global players, quality is not always a priority. So producing less stuff and making it last longer for the customer really does make a difference and is usually a better financial decision for the customer as well. Where possible, we also use eco-friendly materials. The best example of this is Otis, which has always used mineral glass lenses in every sunglass model made. Glass is made from natural resources and is endlessly recyclable. More than 95% of the global sunglasses made use plastic lenses because they're easier and cheaper to make. More plastic is not something that the world needs. And finally, we're lucky to have a great crew that want to make a difference in this space. Engaging with our staff in how we operate our brands and business more sustainably has really created momentum and a genuine commitment to make a difference. It's now part of our everyday discussions, which is really cool to see and making a difference. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nathan. I'll open it up to the panel. If there's any questions, please feel. Pip, did you have a question? Do you have any questions on Slido? Where's that?
Hello, can you hear me? Well, a huge percentage of our wine bottles leave the region, but most of the bottles that we use in Margaret River, they're all produced in South Australia. They come across from South Australia, so yeah. So I'm not sure. I think it's a pretty big investment.
Hi, Amanda. I just wanted to touch briefly on you mentioned about market access being constrained, about sustainability. Is that market access, do you notice that market access being constrained by the consumers and the buyers, or is it because of overseas regulatory requirements like the EU's carbon border mechanism? Just hoping you could elaborate on that.
Yeah, sure. So it's predominantly the Scandinavian markets at this point in time. The buyers, most of those markets are monopolies, and they're putting out tenders generally for certified sustainable, biodynamic, like organic type products often. But also you'll find the trend continuing. The UK, even our own domestic buyers at Coles and Woolworths now are giving preference to products that have sustainable credentials because they have their own targets to meet. So if they're providing products that meet those targets, then that helps them meet their targets.
Excellent. And just to add on that, with the sustainability logo that you were mentioning, is there a possibility, or do you see that logo being recognised overseas in those Scandinavian countries, or do they have their own system and different standards that we need to meet?
Yeah, sure. Every country most countries have developed their own standards. So New Zealand has a standard. In California, it's an absolute shambles. I think there's like 30 different marks. Every kind of region within California has created their own program. A couple of years ago, Australia, we did have a program years ago called Entwine. And a few years ago, the Australian Wine Australia, Australian Grape and Wine, and the Australian Wine Research Institute looked at all the programs around the world and took the best from them. And they believe what we've got here is world class now. And so they are promoting it, but not promoting it aggressively yet until they have more momentum of members. So it's around, we can't kind of go out and say it's the gold class standard if we don't have all our wineries on board. So it's sort of a little bit getting everyone on board, and then they'll be marketing it very heavily. But we are using it now as well for For example, on Tuesday night, we had a media event in the UK, and I chose the wines that would be profiled based on having those certifications. So we are using it as a bit of a, I guess, a criteria now.
Perfect. Thanks, everyone.
Charles?
I'll be loud. So the products, I was particularly interested, for example, like Otis, and I've paid fortunes for it. If I know things are from my region and I buy from my region, I've heard of beer farm, of course. How do we raise the level of brand recognition of our own stuff to our own people?
Good question. We need to do a better job, obviously. And the target customer of Otis in the past has been a younger customer. Younger than me as well. It has been a sort of 18 to 30-year-old customer. But in recent years, in recent years, we realised really quickly that the ones that have got money are the 25 to 50-year-olds. Plus, that's the one that I'm in now. So that is probably why you're not seeing our marketing, but we need to do a better job. But as I was sitting here today and thinking about the Tourism Association and the MRBT and the like, I think brands like ours and businesses like ours can somehow leverage and work together with that. So I see the question and I'm thinking the same sort of thing.
I might add to that from the brewer's perspective, and the community piece isn't lost on us. We do see ourselves as places where people congregate, where they share experiences, where they have a good time. And if we can reinvest back in the community and help grow our brands as a result, that's one of our focuses.
Yeah, I just realised there's a question on Slido. I found a Q&A section. Why is the region, and I didn't write this, why is the region promoted as Margaret River region? Isn't it time to come up with a new term? Melbourne to Busselton flights come up Melbourne to Margaret River. Come up, probably Bustle Highway from Melbourne to Margaret River. I felt I should have read that out because it's come through on Slido. Any comments?
Well, I mean, I'll have a stab at it as I sit on the board of MRBTA. I mean, the attraction of more of the right type of visitors to the region, it hinges on us taking a recognizable name and brand, I suppose, to the market. So, you know, MRBTA doesn't dismiss the value or the contribution of Busselton or Yallingup or Augusta. They're all as important in the offering of the region, but we're wearing a marketing hat here. After all, it's about attracting visitors and then dispersing them around the region. So I think, I mean, it's a debate that's gone on forever. That question, you know, it's been bandied around many times. And I think, you know, the compelling brand message is the Margaret River region. Wine has done it for 50 years. Beer now taking on the mantle, and we'll see West Australian beers presented, and there may even be a beer that reflects the DNA of the region that talks to, you know, kind of local attributes as in the way wine does also.
Yeah, I'd add to that as well. If you travel the world to wine regions, quite often when you're looking to go to Napa Valley or to Champagne or Burgundy, Bordeaux, you don't actually, you're attracted to that region. And then once you get there, for example, an example of Napa Valley, you actually realize, oh, I want to stay in St Helena, and then I'm going to disperse to Yountville, and then I'm going to go to these other towns. So the town names are sort of what you learn as you become more aware of the region. But I guess you need that hook, and I guess we've got the perfect postcard with millions and millions of bottles with the Margaret River label on them going around the world. So yeah, I think we should leverage that.
Yeah. Amanda, I have a question. In terms of sustainability goals within your members, how much are they taking on carbon sinking and taking up the opportunities of carbon?
There's a lot of
credits?
interest in it. There's also a lot of confusion. I think at the moment, a lot of people are going to workshops around it, wanting to do more, understand it. I mean, by nature, the vineyards are fantastic at sequencing. I hate that word. Yeah. So, you know, they're, you know, with particularly planting cover crops and things in your vineyards, in your rows between the vines, there's lots of things we can do, and they're doing those. But as far as the whole carbon credits at the moment, I think it's still, I guess the jury's out on what, you know, which national body or what system is the best one. It feels like there's still a bit of research and work that needs to be done at maybe at the national level on that space.
Paul, I might just add to that. The issue with getting to carbon zero in this part of the world is transport makes up more than 60% of our carbon footprint. If we're going to market our product outside of the Southwest, it's a big challenge to resolve. And certainly from the Alliance perspective, we're working on a logistics solution that will see full trucks leaving the Southwest rather than 11 of us putting a pallet on a carrier that goes to Perth and services the Perth market. So we're actually actively trying to collaborate on reducing the number of carbon miles, if you like, in selling our beer.
That's great.
Wine, it's similar as well. It's packaging, so glass. So a lot of wineries are now going into lightweight glass. And even we've got journalists in the UK that are now naming and shaming wineries that are using heavy bottles. So when they do a review, they might say, this is a 96 point wine, but it's this many grams of bottle. And consumers are actually taking notice of that.
Yep. Any further questions?
Could I just say one thing about the airport, which has been a massive thing for our business. We've got employees that have come from the East Coast of Australia that we've lured over here, and they love it here. So that ability to be able to fly direct to Busselton, but the next stage of being able to freight stuff from here to the East Coast is going to be massive for business like us.
That's great. All right. Well, thank you very much, panel, for your time. Thank you very much. And now I would like to introduce Sana Turnhock, business advisor and learning specialist from IPS Business Advisory, who is here to talk about a business resilience and adaptation story.
Hi everyone, lovely to see you all here. First, I'd like to make an acknowledgement to country that we are meeting on Wadandi country, and that, yes, that we are just meeting on Wadandi country. Before I was working for IPS Business Advisory, I was a natural therapist for 20 years. I was a consultant, I was an educator, and I was a practitioner. So I really understand the highs and lows of business, what it's like to thrive, what it's like to survive, but also more than that, to understand the resilience and the mental health of the business owner. And on that note, I want to take a little time to introduce you to someone who will join me on stage shortly. And this is Jan Stewart. Now, I first met Jan in 2020. And Jan was, still is to a small extent, but she's a travel agent, and we all know what happened to travel agents during the pandemic, and it's still being impacted. But when Jan came to me, she didn't want to talk about travel. She had another idea, and she wanted to find out whether it was viable. And the title she had was Forage Safaris, a beautiful title. And so Jan wanted to use COVID lockdown to fine-tune these ideas and to work on her business. And so through IPS Business Advisory, she attended a number of our workshops, they're free, and she came to see me mostly, although she did also have access to our team through IPS Business Advisory. And over the course of 2 years, pretty much, Jan has come to us for legal matters, and if we haven't been able to help her, then we've referred her to our legal partners, legal referral partners. She's worked together with me to build a business strategy, business development plans, also marketing, content development around her website, also a customer experience audit, which I'll tell you about in a little bit. Also, she came to us for general support, and we also gave her contacts, especially if we couldn't help her or she had particular needs that the service didn't offer. We were able to send her to particular people. And we also acted as a sounding board, and that's one of the things that we do. Sometimes people, they don't have family members who they can talk to, or that they're not supported by them. This wasn't the case with Jan, but that's something that we did for her. Customer audit experience was a lot of fun. Now, what this was Jan essentially wanted to run a prototype tour before she was up and running for business. And I think there were about 5 or 6 of us that were with her on this day. And she took us on a back roads journey to Busselton, and we discovered a winery. We went on a farm, and we also able to taste some of the local product that she introduced us to. And it gave me a real insight into, from the concept stage that Jan began with to where she was and what she'd manifested in that point in time, which is a tourism operation that is professional, it's thoughtful, it's bespoke, and it connects the tourist to the region, local farms and producers. I now invite Jan to join me on stage. I think it's over there, Jan. So we're just going to have a bit of a chat, and I know I've got about 8 minutes, and then I think after that we'll step off stage. Yep. Okay, can you give me 8? It says 6. Okay. Okay, is this working? Yes. Hello. So Jan, what made you set up Forage Safaris?
Well, like you say, I still am a travel agent, a home-based travel agent. And when COVID hit, it was absolutely devastating. You know, we didn't know what the future was going to lie, what was going to happen. Nobody had any answers. So I spent a few months cancelling all our bookings, refunding everybody. It was pretty depressing for everybody. And one day my husband said to me, you know, you've still got Forage Safaris. Mm-hmm. And a few years previously, we had started working on Forage Safaris on the concept of basically supporting the farmers, giving them another voice. And so that's how Forage Safaris got up and going. And
thanks to COVID.
Absolutely, thanks to COVID. I suppose once I'd finished all the booking, cancelling the bookings, I had time. And I had time to do the research. And I think that's the hardest thing of starting any business, is having the time.
So your focus really was giving a voice to the farmers.
Yes, beautiful. Yes. Coming from a farming background myself, I think it was very important to show people farming life, where our food comes from, and also give the farmers a voice and a platform. A lot of them are very passionate, incredibly knowledgeable, and they love it. So yeah, everybody seems to like it. So it's a great situation.
It's an awesome model. I love it. So you've been running for over 12 months now. What's been a challenge for you?
Well, I think the biggest challenge for me is the marketing, the knowledge and finance. I was very excited to hear some stories today about, you know, getting maybe some investment. I'm at the stage now when I need to take the next step and progress and grow. But getting the information out, how the company works, what we're trying to achieve has been hard, because the tools are so different. And but now we're getting out there. We've got a fantastic website, I think, great social media. We're getting some good reviews, so people are starting to get to hear of us. You know, and we work with incredible people, and it's fantastic being able to showcase the range of product that we have in the Southwest.
Wonderful. You said growth. So we know that there's a growth funder over down the back, if he hasn't gone already. Okay, what about a standout highlight?
A standout highlight for me definitely is when people find that connection with the land, which is what we're trying to create or give them. And a lot of the time it's a connection that they didn't realize that they actually had missed in their lives, whether they've had a connection with been on a farm, had a farming family, or just actually getting outdoors and doing something completely different. Walking through a protea farm or an olive orchard with the emus, it's an incredible experience. So watching that from people, and at the end of the day, it's just like, oh, it was amazing. So yeah.
I remember the
very rewarding.
emus. I remember the
Yeah.
emus. They were very rewarding. And they
they're
did a
fun.
cameo. They did a
Yeah.
cameo when we were there.
They're very funny.
All right. So there's no question that business can be stressful for a number of reasons. What do you do to foster self-care and to maintain personal wellness?
Well, I think this is a juggle for everybody, and it takes a lot of self-discipline. I work from home, and I have worked from home for a long time. So I have a lot of self-discipline in the workplace, but definitely taking breaks. And that break is actually removing yourself completely from the work environment. I do love walking my dogs. I love the outdoors. Every Sunday, we make sure we don't open the computer, and that's our day to go and do something completely different. So Monday, I feel completely fresh. But it is a hard one. It's very hard.
It is. I think you're lucky, though, that in your line of work that you're going out and visiting farms, so you're connecting to nature anyway, aren't you? So
Yes,
that you
yeah.
can switch off from that point of view.
Oh,
as well.
absolutely. And I'm constantly going to visit new potential farmers or current farmers and growing what we already work with. So, and that's great to get outdoors. It's really special.
You're lucky.
Yeah.
Do you believe that self-care or wellness strategies have played an important role in your business resilience?
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. And I think that really came into play when the travel industry crashed. There's still no insight as to when it's really going to get back to where it was. But I couldn't have coped with that if I was not resilient within myself. And having a strong plan and goal, then yeah, that really certainly helped. Yeah.
When you talk about the goal and the planning, or do you mean from the business development plan that you put together for Forage Safaris?
I'm always a achiever. I like to really try and, meet goals and improve on myself. But definitely with Forage Safaris, this is something fairly new. I think agritourism hasn't even really been touched on, especially in the southwest of WA. I'm very passionate about farming, and I would really love to get that part of it growing. I think this is just a step in that process.
Yep, perfect. So what has COVID taught you about business and being a business owner?
Definitely not to put all your eggs in one basket and be prepared for anything. Coming from Africa, that's definitely how we live day to day. We never took anything for granted. So yeah, definitely having my feet in two doors, and that's why I still keep the travel agent's door open, because you just never know. So it just made me realize that I need to be resilient. I need to be able to work forward, and I can do that, and that I have done that, and that's, I think it's also a good thing.
Yep.
So it's COVID has taught me a lot. Yeah. Never ever thought I would see the world shut down. And you look on a flight app and there's no flights into London. It's a pretty surreal situation. Yeah.
It certainly was.
Yeah.
Definitely. What ways has business taught you to be resilient?
It's taught me to be resilient because I've just had to get on with things. When there are problems, you've got to face them. You've got to be honest with yourself. You've got to resolve them, because if you don't, they're just going to get worse. So you've got to talk to yourself, set a plan. I'm also one of those people, I'm a list maker. So I write lots of lists, even including daily goals. And I stick to that. And that just keeps me going forward and being positive and keeping resilient.
What happens when you don't tick all the boxes on it for that day?
They get added onto the next day, okay. As long as they're done by Friday.
Good one. Reflecting on wellness and resilience in business, do you believe that if you're well and practice self-care consistently, that this will help you move through your business challenges?
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. If you organized and have your own healthy mind, healthy body, you're organized at home, I think absolutely this sets you up for a good relationship within your business. Definitely. I find if I'm not organized, then it's not as good. So that's why I make sure I'm the list maker. I have the list, and I definitely it definitely helps me. So I need to be organized, and self-disciplined, definitely. Yeah.
Do you have any tips, maybe 2 tips for people in the audience about self-care and wellness?
I think most important is be realistic and be honest about yourself and what you can achieve. We all want to reach here. I'm sure most of us in business, you need to be realistic and keep a check on your business. Keep on rechecking your own business plan. You need to keep on doing that, and that keeps you honest and keep you going forward. Yeah.
That's it for the questions for the moment. So I guess we'll have our next speaker, and then do you want us to come back up here, Paul, or do we stay here? Okay.
Okay, for our final speaker, I'd like to invite Joanne Edmond, who is a psychologist, positive psychology and wellness coach, and director of Core of Wellbeing, to speak on positivity and wellness in business. Thank you.
Okay, let's see how all this works. So thank you to the City of Busselton for inviting me here today. And I really want to acknowledge all of the expertise in the room that I've been hearing about. And it's an honour to stand here in Wardandi Noongar Budja country. So I would like to acknowledge those past, present and future. I am passionate about the work that I do and privileged to share in the journey of others towards their journeys towards a more meaningful future, unravelling the complex patterns of human behaviour into really simple steps towards flourishing. I get to integrate positive psychology and neuroscience, and I will share a little bit of research, story, and hopefully evidence-based, well, definitely evidence-based strategies that will weave these kind of concepts together. I hope to plant seeds for you all that will have you wanting to delve into these areas further. So, and I guess one of the things that I want to talk about today, which doesn't sound like very much positivity, but burnout, which is one of the buzzwords of 2021, 22, and along, of course, with languishing and unprecedented times. And I do believe that you all each have the capacity to make a difference in leading wellness into your businesses. Now let's see if I can organise this. So, hit it hard? Oh gosh, okay. So we were stunned last week to read 2 new interesting research articles. In a study of 2,000 Australian workers, 93% that physical, mental, and their mental well-being were the most important factors, more important or just important as their level of pay. In another survey also revealed last week, 52,000 workers were surveyed globally. And this reported, along with the Great Resignation, that workers are ready to test the market. More than 1/3 respondents plan to ask for a raise in the coming year, and more than 1 in 5 are extremely likely to move employers. So this, along with most surveyed, actually indicated that the support of their well-being at work was vital. So and I guess for us, this is a really big wake-up call. And with workplaces already struggling to attract or even keep their great staff. And it's the kind of perfect well-being storm that we as positive psychologists are actually thinking this is a wonderful opportunity for you all. And positive psychology has an even more important role in businesses, in government than it did before. And people, I think, are now understanding that it's not just whims and individual characteristics, it's actually scientific evidence. So how can workplaces respond? I want to go on a little journey and find out what we can do to understand burnout and building well-being into your workplace and life. Now press. So I want to share a story that we hear a lot about and resonates with a lot of our clients. And sometimes the struggle can help us to actually really recognize what journey we want to go on. So Billy's journey is like many, and he's determined to succeed. And his journey begins in his excitement. Let's see where he goes. But in his excitement, he forgets to stop for refreshments. He forgets to stop for fuel. He puts his foot down on the pedal even harder because he's got this. And after a while, Billy starts to feel fatigued. He forgets to look at the map, but he keeps on going down the same road anyway. He sees other cars passing him by and thinks, I should just drive faster. And he keeps going until he realizes that he is lost and lonely, but he's come so far. People are relying on him. So Billy is running on an empty tank and is becoming Billy Burnout. If he stopped, he would have noticed 3 components, which we hope that you will be aware of in yourselves or notice possibly in your colleagues. And the first is exhaustion, where people start to feel both mentally and physically exhausted. The second, where people start to kind of lose interest and passion for what they always set out to achieve and can cut off from others. And the last feeling is that starting to feel ineffective. And this has detrimental impacts on the brain, body, productivity, and of course, well-being. I, like Billy, through the initial stages of COVID, was heading down this road with that desire to help more, to do more. And what I knew, I had to stop, take charge, reflect, have those fuel stops, and make big changes. So even psychologists who know the signs can get caught up in this journey. So what do we see? So why is burnout increasing? Well, we've probably heard a lot of that today. We live in a perfect storm. Never before have we experienced such disruption in both workplaces and homes that impacts every aspect of our lives. And for those people out there wanting to succeed, wanting to be their best, the impacts of the perfect storm can lead to stress, chronic stress, and burnout. And we know that environment matters, and your well-being your places of work are the perfect environment to change with positive psychology. So when it comes to balancing the opportunities and demands of your work and your life, how have you gone in the last week? Hands up if it's like your work has often been competing with your life. Anyone? Oh, some and some, okay. Well, no, you're in good company. Researchers have found that for many of us, trying to find this work-life balance can feel like a zero-sum game in which we are always making sacrifices, but we can create more harmony and connection in different parts of our lives with simply tapping into our values. Look within yourself and clarify what matters most and live these values. Articulating your values within your staff teams as well can actually create a foundation for more meaningful, productive action as a leader and generate more support from your staff because they're going to understand what you're about. And it helps then to put in place really clear boundaries as we want to practice what's most important to us. And if Billy and others knew about tuning into that important data that their body gives them, the signs, he would have been more successful and sustainable. So be mindful and take moments to pause, check in where you are and where you're headed. We seem so focused on other types of sustainability, and I've heard so much of this here today, such as environmental, plastics, all of these things, even in the wine, everything. And what about people's sustainability? If we looked at the environment as a force for good, for creating environments where we bring out the best in others, we generate positive emotions, leading people to be virtuous, that will have an impact on people in a positive direction. And there's this idea of leverage, and Archimedes said, give me a lever and a place to stand, and I will move the earth. So similarly in workplaces, there are so many moving parts, but if you can find a steady pointer or that connection to the rest of the parts, to the people, it's like a pivot point in a seesaw where you can pivot to the positive. And the result, according to Barbara Fredrickson and others, is that from the broaden and build theory, creativity goes up, productivity, revenue, and teamwork improves. So creating that upward spiral to well-being, happiness, and this matters a great deal. Working this out now. So to bring out the best in people with positive psychology, we can engage in small well-being habits rather than big ambitious ones, because they create the ripple, have the greatest impact. And since COVID, the boundaries between work and life have reduced so much more. So we can help teams to set healthy boundaries where and when we're working, and decide collaboratively how we will reach our targets and responsibilities. Often people are reluctant to say no because they don't want to offend others, or they become like Billy Burnout and do too much and keep going. With your values in mind, you can actually accommodate and work together to decide what's most important. And of course, talk about well-being every week in staff meetings, because what it does, and happiness, it actually helps teams to reflect together on what's going well, which is a really great positive psychology. It tips us towards the positive as well. And then people feel safe to engage and have conversations as well. It actually amplifies well-being. And try some of these. 2 minutes of positive news in the morning, switch off the other news. Look at it, 24% higher likelihood of a positive mood. Be the power lead. Start conversations that are meaningful and positive, because it actually fuels performance. And show gratitude and recognize strengths within people. Managers who get their team to focus on what they are already doing right increase whole of team productivity by 31%. I thought some of the economists would like all these figures. And we can't ignore the research, which is shining a light on what individuals' employees need, and that is environments to foster well-being. I hope you're feeling a little bit more inspired to power lead and can see how positive psychology interventions, such as noticing emotions as data, reigniting your values, and leveraging the positive within your workplace can help you and others flourish rather than language. The better your brain is at using its energy to focus on positives, the greater your chances are at success, reducing burnout, and increasing people sustainability, because that matters most. Thank you.
Thank you, Joanne. We'll now open it up to the Q&A session. Hopefully I haven't got too much fatigue out in the room. Oh, do I have to check more?
Question in two parts, really. Conscious of over the last 2 years, we've all been so much busier, and the Billy Burnout stories probably resonates very, strongly with everybody in the room. But we're managing a new situation in our workforce where our employees are generally much younger, and the talk about mental wellness and needing to have mental health days and breaks from work around that more prevalent. So as an employer, how do we have open and honest conversations with them about that? Does it infringe on their personal lives? So some guidance around that. But on the flip side of that, how do we encourage resilience, and how do we encourage this cohort to become more productive in the workplace and to contribute more as they learn to sort of acquire work-life skills, which for many, they're in their first job out of school. Thanks.
Yeah, it's a good question. Lots of different parts as well. And I think, like in what we find, like even in my presentation, it's making those leverage points. Sometimes it's making somebody like a wellbeing warrior in the organisation, somebody who's already passionate about positivity, and so they can be the leverage point that can actually, I guess, come in with different ideas. We're talking about creativity. How might they create things that are actually meaningful to your businesses as well? And that makes a huge impact. And then you can obviously get coaches like us who can come in with some different ideas about how to lead and have different mentors within the system, but whatever the system might be. But I think what you can do is actually start by having those conversations about, your well-being matters to us. And we're actually taking this really seriously because employees are going to be asking for this. We just know this from the research. And so to start even just the conversation, I think is a first point. And even just those first little things, like there's these beautiful, neuroscience hacks we say, and it's just being able to mentally dump. So like if you start a meeting, you start your work day, how are you feeling? 8 out of 10 stressed. Okay, even just having that validation allows them to, I guess, check their emotions at the door. It helps them to park it and then get on with the task. And we find it's really energizing. If someone comes in and you're about to go into some strategic meeting and everyone's like a 2 out of 10 in energy, you're going to have to do something to shift that mood. There's going to be no complex planning and reasoning. So it can work, that mental dumping, in so many different ways, and people feel safe and connected.
And that's simple too, isn't it? What you just said there. I'd like to add a couple of points there too. Thank you for that, Joan. That's really insightful. Firstly, work health and safety. Okay, so that's moving into a space of fit for work. So not only are they now focusing on the physical environment, they're now looking at the mental health of the worker. So this means a duty of care for employers, but also employees to a certain extent. So to my mind, and this began in January of this year. I was talking to the CEO of, I think it was WorkSafe the other day, and they're also trying to navigate this space. But you'll see more and more mental health officers basically going into workplaces to start looking at the mental health of the worker. And to my mind, this is where the employer, I think it's really important for them to start thinking about workplace culture. Even if you only have 2 or 3 people that you employ, okay, what does that look like? And start, using some of the techniques that you spoke about, Joanne, so start being open, asking those very simple questions so that employees can start to trust you, to open up to you. And it's an interesting space because I think you have to navigate, the managerial role, knowing a bit too much about someone's personal life, because that may make it more tricky for you if you have to make a decision about perhaps performance. So there's no right or wrong answer, but it is about identifying this and understanding this and your role as an employer, but also as the employee. There's a lot that can be talked about from a workplace culture point of view, but it is, to my mind, about reframing that as an employer, especially if you come from the old guard.
Yeah, and I think just leading on that and finishing off the answer to the question as well, if someone's coming in constantly and saying, I'm 2 out of 10 energy, or I'm 9 out of 10 anxious, it kind of gives that going, okay, I need to come back and check in on how this staff member's going. And that's what builds resilience. And, you're talking about self-care earlier. It's, talk about self-care, like, what does that look like for you? And how can we support you to make sure that that's part of it, and setting those really important boundaries? Because otherwise, if your staff are working 80 hours a week, it's going to be tricky to add in self-care to get that balance as well.
Sorry, I wasn't laughing at the presentation. I was laughing that competition is a word, Keith. There was a bit of, and laughing that Matt Lewis is cool. That was, yeah. Anyway.
I'm glad you're not laughing at us.
Lovely presentation, Joe, Sana and Jan. We're told when on an airplane to fix your own mask before helping your children, right? So in the workplace, as a boss, as a leader, should we be, I guess, taking charge and showing a bit of vulnerability with our own mental health and, really setting the tone, like going and doing a yoga class, lunch break, or just in some way trying to set the scene? Is there any research to show that helps for our staff?
What we find is modelling is really powerful. If there's an expectation that, the employer is working 90 hours a week, and that's the expectation, then what does that leave for people like Billy Burnout? They think, oh, I've got to do that and I've got to keep on going because otherwise I'm not going to be successful. So I think it does start there with you and talking about it, because you might say, how are we all looking after our well-being? And whenever I'm supervising other psychs, the first thing that I'll be saying is, let's look at your self-care grid. How can I help you with that? What does the balance look like? So it's easy for people to get stuck in perfectionism and doing too much. But we know that if people are constantly in stress, they're actually going to be in a stress space and they're not going to be their best for making decisions, being creative, all of those beautiful things you're talking about. And so it doesn't have to be big changes, just conversations.
There was something I wanted to say too there. What was it? It was in relation to, that's right, your question, Tash. I guess also though, yeah, if you're modelling 90 hours a week, then that's what the other employees are going to think. That's going to perhaps move them to a space of overwhelm, and that's not what you want, because it's not helpful for those people wanting to feel productive, because that won't lead them to being productive in the long term. It's not sustainable. But certainly, you know, talking to them about having a program, if that's possible, having a lunchtime program in your workplace. And if you're someone or an organisation that creates work-based plans with your employees, talk to them about a self-care plan in that. What does that look like for them? It might be what it looks like for Jan, you know, taking the dogs for a walk and ensuring that that happens on a daily basis. Or it might mean going to the movies. Or if you're an organisation or a business where you reward your staff, you don't have to necessarily involve, reward them financially, but you might want to reward them through having a massage voucher or a dinner or something where it's about their self-care. So therefore, you are modelling it in a different way.
I wonder how Jan dealt with that, going to work every day, excellent. How did you look after yourself?
Yeah, Grant, it was definitely a very tricky time. But what I had to do in my role as a travel agent was to look after my clients, number one. And they were all panicking. They were missing out on their holidays and reunions and spending thousands of dollars. So I could understand that. I think what I struggled with is they didn't understand it from our side. Because we were now dealing with, you know, all the airlines and phoning Canada, weird hours of the morning and all of that. So I gave myself a daily task. I did my lists and just did the best I could, just kept positive. And I think keeping positive is really how I work in life. I always look on the good side of life. And yeah, I just did the best and tried not to look at the news. So that was very depressing. But yeah, I suppose it's all you can really do. Yeah.
There's no more questions. Well, thank you very much, Sana and Joe and Jan, for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we're getting there. So the last Slido poll today has put those key areas, huge opportunities. Matt Lewis is pretty cool. I wonder who wrote that. Where's Matt? Is he still here? Oh, it's gone. Yeah, investing in creativity, competition, that's the thing. Sustainability is the key. Huge opportunities. Southwest knows no bounds. Collaboration, Southwest is awesome. Cool, calm, not sure what that means. Opportunity, lean in and work together, inspiring and innovative. So no, that's a great list of outcomes or thoughts on today's workload forum. That's right. I suppose wrapping up, I'm just going to not summarise, but just put some of my little key takeaways. I think we are all in pretty challenging economic times. I think from a city's perspective, it's about us as a council facilitating and enabling and making sure that we've got infrastructure like airports and roads there that can support our business. Skills and housing, that's certainly no secret. The city can do a few things there, but you know, that's certainly a key concern. I think identifying, trying to seek career advice for youth when they're early was an interesting point to help them find their place in the future. The impacts of FIFO, the negative impacts in terms of housing and employment, but also potentially I see future impacts of those people once they finish their FIFO times, they'll come back here and actually add to our labour resources. moving on to business, sorry, tourism, protecting the environment. I think it's important. We have a lot of pressure from the community to protect our environment. And I think that the takeout or the comments regarding making this a destination of choice, but also making it a place where it's a high value, hopefully will sort of help to decrease that pressure on our environment, but while maximising the economic return for the region. Business enterprise facilitation. That was I enjoyed that. It was business development, but I see it as business enterprise facilitation. It's bringing those people together and us together, and finding networks, finding people that can help you fund your ultimate objectives. Thinking big and not limiting your ideas, and creating that marriage with mutual benefits. Accelerating commercialisation grants. Can we find someone that's going to go and try and get some of those $1 million grants? Start talking about it. And there's other funding, the REDS funding as well. Collaboration, creativity, sustainability. I think there's probably some of the main keywords that I've got out of today. That's sort of why we're here. Competition. Onto the thriving, not surviving. Yeah, I think the importance of investing time on your business, and it's unfortunate. I think that that there wasn't a lot more businesses here today because they're probably working in their business, probably due to the very issues of labour shortages and those sorts of things that we've been talking about today. But it is important, and then also spending time away from your business for your okay, I think they want me to hurry up. Spending time away from your business for yourself as well, and investing in that personal sustainability. Thanks. I'm sorry, I'm nearly done. The ED strategy. There's a one-page plan on a page in the middle of your desks. Please take it. Please look further into it and see what that strategy has in it for you, or what you can help us to implement that strategy and make it a success between now and 2027. And finally, I'd just like to thank Danelle and the ED team for all the work that you've done to put this, not only putting this day together, but putting the economic development strategy together. It's a great piece of work, and it's not just wants, it's a list of actions that once implemented are going to, I'm sure, promote the benefits to our region. So thank you very much, everyone, for your time, and can you please join us for a networking sundowner in the foyer.
They say my